Hello everyone and welcome to Fully Vetted. We showcase Corvette owners and their cars on this show, and we're today talking to Lynn Behm. And Lynn, if you'll introduce yourself and then we'll get going and ask you some more questions.
I'm a serial Corvette owner, I'm a serial husband, I'm a serial eater.
There you go. Perfect. Okay. So tell us a little bit about your car. This is Lynn's car right here behind us, if you haven't figured that out by now. So
this is an 08 and 430 horse engine, which was an upgrade for the 2008 over the 2007.
Okay.
And it goes pretty good.
That's, yeah, a lot more horsepower than mine.
Hey, you know.
So you said you're a serial Corvette owner.
Yes.
Okay, so tell me about your other Corvette.
Oh man, I've been a car guy ever since I could teeny tiny kid. You know, there's a DeSoto, and I know what it was, regardless of the year.
That's awesome.
Graduated from university, I got a full-time job working for the Salt Lake City School District, and I was making a regular paycheck, and I bought a Corvette.
And what year was that car?
That was a 62. That was the last year of that body style.
That was the last of the C1s.
Yep. The next year, of course, was that beautiful Stingray. Oh my gosh. But I bought it in parts. It wasn't even a rolling chassis.
Oh, really?
I had to bring my own wheels and tires to get it from Layton down to Salt Lake.
Oh, wow.
And so I had an engine that I was building. I had a transmission that I'd had in the garage for a while, wheels and tires. So it was like kind of from scratch.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you did any body work to it and paint it and all that kind of stuff? Or?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. Because when I went to register it here at the state of Utah, and I went up to the counter, and the lady says, well, so how much did you pay for your Corvette? I said, $175. It had an engine fire. The guy was a hot rodder, he had the fuel injected engine, and it was squirting gas, I guess, quite a bit, because the firewall was just like shredded hay. And so it needed a lot of work. And it had a big hole in the right rear quarter panel.
Oh boy.
Man. So it was rough. It was rough.
Oh boy, and so that was your first one.
That was my first one.
Tell us about your next one.
Oh, this is it.
This is your next one. Okay, awesome.
I lived long enough to get a second one.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. So tell me, what made you choose a Corvette then, and then what made you choose a Corvette finally again at this point in your life?
Being a hot rodder, I think I always had a love for Corvettes. When I was building model cars over the years, I had a lot of Corvette models, and so it just seemed like it was very attractive. And you know, I happened to see the ad in the newspaper back when they had ads in newspapers, and there it was. I thought, oh, 175 bucks. I don't know if he had it for 175, but I called him and went up, took a look at it, and said, I have a dream. I could see the potential in it, and so I bought it. It was more than just a rolling chassis.
Okay.
Because it had the engine fire, he bought a wire loom for the under dash.
Okay.
And so I had a brand new wire loom and a POS kind of a Corvette.
I think we've all been there when it comes to our love of cars.
Oh boy, yeah.
So have you made any modifications to this car at all whatsoever?
I have not.
Okay, so it's bone stock.
It is.
That's
and
awesome.
My son, who's a body and fender service writer forever, he said, don't ever take it through a car wash, always hand wash it.
Yep.
And so I hand washed it and hand washed it and hand washed it. And finally, one day I took it through the car wash. And I thought, oh, this was so much easier. I have to admit, I took it through the car wash before I brought it up here.
I hand washed mine in the driveway this morning.
It's beautiful too.
Yeah. So what do you like most about your car?
Tires. So my wife and I, she said, if we're going to get, so I turned around, I said, Jana, do we still want a Corvette? And she said, if we're going to get one of those cars, we have to get one while we still have knees that are good enough to get in and out of the car. And we did. And so we got the car.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so I've been waiting for an opportunity to go to Wendover. And it happened that we had a wedding in Elko. So we went to Elko, Nevada. And I wondered how high a speed you could just push the speed set control, and 100 was easy.
Right.
And then I said to my wife, Janet, you know, these tires are Z rated. That means they're rated for 140 miles per hour. And she said, okay.
Good for
Man,
her.
I'm on a roll. So I took it up to, I think, 120, and then I backed off. And then I took it up to 125, and I said, okay, I don't want to have an accident here, so that was enough.
Yeah, that's what they're built for.
And we waited, by the way, till we passed the highway patrolman, so we knew we were safe for a while.
And that's awesome. That's good to hear. I'm going to have to tease Janet about that the next time I see her.
And then now Janet is she's an accountant.
Right.
She is really conservative.
Right.
And so on the way back, she was driving, and I said, well, why don't you just take it up a little bit? And she says, I'm not sure. I said, take it up just a little bit. So she said, okay. And so she started pushing the throttle down, pushing the throttle down, pushing the throttle down. We got to 110. She said, okay, that's enough. She says, things are moving by too fast.
That's all, yeah, but there's just nothing like that feeling.
Oh,
There's
gosh.
just nothing like that feeling.
It's a thrill.
So other than Corvettes, have you owned any other sports cars?
Oh, gosh, I have a lot of sports cars.
But
the one that I want to tell you about
Okay.
is I was at a party one night drinking wine, and the guy next to me, he says, I'm telling him about how I want to build my own fiberglass body for a car. He says, well, I've got the perfect chassis for you. I said, tell me about it. He says, well, I've got this, now in the Sports Car Club of America, it's called a Sports Racer. It is the unlimited, closed wheel road racing car.
Okay.
And I said, well, let me take a look at it. And it was another one of those deals where it was out in the field, one of the wheels was missing, weeds were growing up through it higher than the roll bar, and I had a vision.
There you go, there you go.
And so I bought that from him. And I didn't tell you before, my 62 Corvette, I was breaking the engine very easily, and I got up to 250 miles, and it was such a frustration that I finally stopped breaking it in. I said, I'm going to sell it in parts. But I kept the engine, and the engine I had built to, I'm going to guess, 350 horse. It was about that. It had the pop-up pistons and the Duntov cam and all that stuff. And I put that in this car, which is a Cooper Monaco. It was a 1962
Cooper Monaco.
Cooper Monaco. It was right-hand drive. It was British.
Oh, wow.
And
That's
it had
awesome.
huge tires.
Really?
Oh my God. Yeah, and that was a thrill. At one of the Sports Car Club of America, the regional race here in Salt Lake City, there were two Corvettes. One was a 327 Corvette, one was a 427 Corvette. So we started the race, and I would hit the front straight is the quarter mile out there at Bonneville Raceway Park, and I'd hit the throttle, and I'd go through the gears, and I'd just peg it at red line and go, go, go. And these guys are way, way back there. But the car had four-wheel disc brakes and wasn't powered. I couldn't push hard enough on the brakes to lock the tires. So I had to start planning way ahead to slow down, slow down, slow down so that I could make that turn and stay in the race. And so these guys would catch right up with me. Oh my gosh. But then as soon as I get through the S's, back straight, bang, I'm gone again.
That's awesome. And that's because the car was so light?
So light. Yeah. That's about 1,200 pounds with that 350 horsepower. It was greased lightning.
Yeah,
it was fast.
Undoubtedly. So any other stories about that when you're taking it to car shows or car racing? Or
So I have a whole list of cars that are kind of thrilling cars. One of them was a black convertible Mustang, the Fox body, before they started downsizing and doing all that kind of crazy stuff. The Mustang 2 and whatever.
Before the Mustang 2, yeah.
Yeah, and it had a 5-liter engine in it. I rebuilt it. So I did a balance and blueprinted the block.
Oh, nice.
And so it was, but I didn't hot rod it beyond that. But I built a lot of engines over the years.
That's awesome. That's
I've done Fords and Chevrolets and what have you. And no Chryslers.
No Chryslers, yeah. I learned the hard way to rebuild an engine by blowing up the engine in my first Corvette.
Oh, no. Yeah, that is.
Other than a Corvette, the other sports cars that you've had, how do they compare? I mean, which the ones do you think have been the funnest, or you've had the most fun in, or do they all have their own unique little history to them?
Oh, I got stories about every one of them. My first Corvette was a terrible disappointment.
Okay.
And then the race car, by the way, was a terrible disappointment. Looking for unique cars. So I had a Pontiac convertible that had the overhead cam 6. And I bought it from a guy. I'd never driven a 6-cylinder.
What year?
Oh, it was a 67, I think.
Okay.
And beautiful car. And I'd never driven a 6-cylinder. I'd always had V8s, and I'd always been a hot rodder. So, I was used to, and so I just thought, okay, well, this is a 6-cylinder. And so this is wife number one.
Okay.
We were dating, and I went down to visit her in Tucson, Arizona, where she was going to school. And the overhead cam has this big belt that drives the cam. And it was having it looked like it was shredding. So, oh, geez, I better take care of that.
Right.
So I went clear up to Phoenix and bought a brand new belt and put it on. Holy moly! What had happened, I think, is the belt had been bad for a long time and it skipped a tooth. And so when I had it timed properly, that thing it cooked. I was really impressed.
That's funny. That's an interesting story.
I've never been a fan of convertibles, but I've had a lot of convertibles.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of convertibles myself either.
57 Thunderbird.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there we go.
Okay,
God,
yeah.
this one, I had I could buy a 57 Thunderbird and that Pontiac.
Okay.
Or I could have bought an MG something or other, and it was about $1,500 back in those days. So I got two cars for the $1,500, and one of them was this drag racers 57 Ford Thunderbird. It was like emergency orange.
Emergency orange.
What do you call it?
What do you call emergency orange?
Yeah, it was. You got the concept.
Somebody look that up. Emergency orange.
Yeah, it was bright, and it had hit really hard in the right rear quarter panel. But I thought, I can work with this. So I bought that car. It had a 428 Cobra Jet in it.
Oh, wow.
Now, the Cobra Jet, I think they were listed at about 430 or so horsepower from the factory. This guy had put 3 two-barrel carburetors on it. He was a drag racer, so I have no idea what it was. But I traded that because I thought, well, what I want to do is restore this 57 Thunderbird to its original. And I had a friend who had a 312 Y-block Ford engine, which was the standard for that, and he had hot rodded that one. So I thought, well, I'll just go ahead and trade him. That was now 57 Thunderbird. There was another real disappointing experience with a project. It was a 5-liter Ford that I rebuilt and did the blueprinting on, and that was on an '83 Ford Thunderbird Elan.
Okay.
And that was a beautiful car. That was rarely did I have an automatic, and so that was an automatic. And but it was fun to drive.
Is this a 4-speed or an automatic?
This is an automatic.
Okay.
I'll tell you about the automatic in this.
Okay, cool.
It has the paddle shifter. I had never experienced paddle shifters before, but I'll tell you what, I'm a big fan. I've never missed a shift with a paddle shifter.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So there's a mode that you select.
There is.
So that it's almost like driving a manual transmission.
It is.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it has a 6-speed auto.
So now is this your daily driver? It is, right?
Oh, daily is a relative term.
Okay.
It is a beautiful, sunshiny, no clouds in the sky here today. So this is a Corvette day.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel you.
Those days where it's raining. Oh, and part of the reason I wanted to be so careful about not ever taking it out in the rain is because I looked under the car when I bought it, and all of the labels on the suspension parts were beautifully white. They didn't look like they'd yellow like you'd been in the weather at all. And so I thought, well, if it's never been in the rain, maybe I want to not ever take it in the rain. But it had been in the rain a couple of times now, and then that's when I started doing the car wash.
Right. A lot of Corvette owners are like that. I don't take mine out in the rain either. I mean, the other day it was sprinkling on the way home. I'm like, gotta get home. I know as fast as I can.
Heart rate.
So you've told me a couple of stories about your car. Is there any one particular memory that stands out that you like? When this car is long gone, what will you remember the most about this car?
The day we bought it,
okay,
we said, well, let's take a little road trip. One of Janet's daughters is a real estate broker,
okay,
and her husband had still have a cabin, but they were living at the cabin full time. And so I said, let's take a drive up there. So we took a drive up, and the very first thing I noticed is going up the freeway, up the canyons, was the very first turn I took at speed. You turn into it, and the car goes. With a front engine, rear wheel, heavy in the front, sedan or whatever, you have to anticipate. You start turning before you get to the turn so that the car gets the idea, oh, we're turning?
Right,
This didn't, and so I immediately noticed that. I thought, oh, this is I like this.
Yeah.
It was instant.
That's awesome.
Instantaneous.
Yeah, because from what I understand, all the way from my generation, the C3, up through the C7, it was about 50-50. Really good on the distribution. The C8s are a little bit different. They're about 40-60 from what I understand.
In the back, it's heavier. Which would for a mid-engine car, that's really the way that you want to have that set up.
Yeah, mine's the same way. You aim it, it goes right there. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Yeah,
those Z-rated tires, man.
Yeah. I don't have Z-rated tires.
I love those.
My car won't do Z-rated speeds.
you know.
It's all good. It's all fun.
But the tires are up for it.
Nah, for sure. I forgot to mention this, but the other day when I was over at the office and we were talking about doing this interview, that was June 30th, and that's the 70th birthday of Corvettes on June 30th. So I think that's
my gosh,
coinky dinky that we were talking about it on that day.
Very good.
Yeah. So that's awesome. Yeah. So do you remember the feeling you had when you first bought this car? I mean, what was the excitement level like? I mean,
oh man, it was on a scale of 1 to 10. I was tap dancing 9 to 10, of course.
Yeah.
And I was so nervous. I have a tendency to be ahead of things. And so Janet says,
wouldn't know what that was like.
just calm down a little bit. And getting in it and driving away from the signing, that was very exciting. You know, I don't have pictures of any of them. And so I was writing an article for this magazine called Evo, EVO.
Okay.
It's a British magazine. I had a subscription for it. Back then it was $80 a year. I couldn't believe I was spending that kind of money, but it was a beautiful magazine. And they had a section in there about the subscribers talking about their cars and their car history and that sort of thing. And they're all, you know, talking about their Ferraris.
Right.
This is in Europe, so they're talking about their Ferraris and their Lamborghinis and, you know, that kind of stuff. So I wrote an article and I made my own graphics. I said the title was "There's No Substitute for Cubic Inches."
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
But I don't, as far as I know, they never published it. But I wanted to have, because I've talked about all these cars, like the '57 Thunderbird and various other cars that were part of this menagerie of things that I've done over the years. But I didn't have any photographs. I couldn't find the photograph of the Cooper Monaco either.
Oh, man.
So I started looking around and asking people and buying, like, what would you call it, a license, licenses. I had a '60 Ford Thunderbird that I got a license from a guy in Australia.
Oh, wow.
And because he had a beautiful picture, oh my gosh. And all of these, they work best if you're looking at the rear of the tail lights and stuff somehow. It seemed like that was the more distinctive thing about every one of these cars. And so I had lots of pictures. I had the '62 Corvette was beautiful side on.
That's awesome.
It was black, which mine was black, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, I feel you. I have one picture of my 1969 Corvette, the first one I ever, and it's a bad Polaroid.
Oh no! Oh no!
Okie doke. Well, folks, that's all I've got for you, Lynn. Unless there's anything else you want to add. I'd like to thank everybody for watching today, and please click subscribe and like. It really helps us grow. And by any means out there, if there's any of you that think your car is the star of our next show, drop us a line. The email is below, and we'll get in touch with you. Thank you. But I would think that it would still probably have a certain amount of mileage warranty on it, right?
You know, I'm not sure.
So it's an 07 and you got it when?
08.
It's an 08.
And I got it about 5 or 6 years ago now.
Yeah, this is C6, and last year there was 2005 to 2013 for the C6. 2013 was the 60th anniversary.
And that was the C7.
So what were you driving
No.
before you got into this?